50% of the parents opted out of the program, and SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, dropped by 50%. Strange. Dr. William Torch, University of Nevada School of Medicine, said 2/3 of the SIDS babies had been vaccinated with DPT in the preceding 3 weeks. Don't you think a medical doctor would maybe look and see if there's some kind of connection here? Go outside of Atlanta, Georgia, to the town of Elberton. Drive north 7 or 8 miles, and you see way off in the middle of no place, middle of just big old field, you see these rocks sticking up out of the ground. As you drive up to them, you see, man, this is a man-made object, like Stonehenge. It has the 10 Commandments for the New World Order in 12 languages. Commandment number 1, maintain humanity under 500 million. There's already 6 billion. How are they going to maintain it under 500 million? Oh, they've got big plans to reduce the population. One of them involves chemtrails. How many have ever seen these things? They're spraying them out of airplanes all over the place. Have they sprayed your area here, Wisconsin, with chemtrails? This isn't contrails. This isn't coming out of the engine. Okay? They're spraying chemicals all over the United States. What for? Well, they want to reduce the population. This will sure do it, because the stuff they're spraying is going to do exactly that. Just check it out on the internet. Just go to Google, internet search, and type in chemtrails, chemical trails. Just read it for yourself. You won't believe the stuff they're spraying over your city. The purpose is a long-term purpose to reduce the population of the world. Cover more on that in a college class. Satan hates humanity. He wants to reduce the population to 500 million. That's what he's telling these people. They don't know it, but Ted Turner and these guys they're being used by Satan to get the population down to 500 million, and then he wants to kill them. Satan's plan is 0. God wants to have us obey his laws. Satan says, no, you disobey God's laws. I want you to be punished. I want you to go to hell. We can talk all day about Satan's plan for the New World Order in that sense. God's commandments are not grievous. God put him in the garden, said you can eat off any tree except that one tree, the knowledge of good and evil. It's real simple, Adam. Enjoy the garden, have lots of kids, and don't learn about evil. After they disobeyed, Romans chapter 16, Paul said, I would have you wise unto that which is good and simple concerning evil. Parents, don't teach your kids about all the evil things. Don't have drug education classes where you show them, hey, this is marijuana, here's how you smoke it. Now, don't you do that. Duh. Don't put them in sex ed classes in 7th grade. It's a plumbing class at that time. Don't do that, okay? Let them be ignorant. Let them learn it from mom and dad, not from some heathen, okay? It's real simple, Adam. Enjoy the world, have lots of kids, and don't learn about evil. Don't learn all that stuff. So the Lord said, hey, have you eaten off that tree I told you not to eat of? God's not asking for information. He's asking for a confession. And the man said, the woman, pass the buck, you know, whom thou gavest to be with me. Now, God, this is really your fault, you know. If you hadn't given her to me, I wouldn't have this problem. He said to the woman, have you done this? She said, well, the snake, you know, that you made, pass the buck, you know. We still do the same thing. Nothing changes, okay? Fear God, keep his commandments. Just like the taking of life is very important in any culture. Murder's serious. Giving life is important. That's why God put certain rules down for reproduction. Okay? Follow his rules. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Whoremongers and adulterers, God will judge. Don't even look and lust. You've committed adultery already in your heart. By the way, ladies, that's why it's important how you dress, okay? My daddy always said, if you're not in business, don't advertise, okay? Women should dress in modest apparel. That's what the Bible says, all right. Premarital sex has increased like crazy since 1963 when evolution became popular in our school system. Now 1/3 of the kids born in the hospital are born to a couple not married. 725% increase in unmarried couples living together in adultery. Divorce rates have gone crazy. Violent crimes up 1,000%. In 1973, our Supreme Court said the word person does not include the unborn. That, people think, justified abortion. There have now been 45 million babies aborted in America, 1 billion worldwide. Satan's plan, reduce the population. Boy, that'll do it. This evolution theory is the foundation philosophy for humanism. Humanism is the idea that man is God. After all, there is no God out there, so we must be God. The Bible says they did not like to retain God in their knowledge. God gave them over to a reprobate mind. Do humanists believe in a supreme being? Emphatically, yes. That supreme being is man. Humanists have no knowledge of any being more supreme. The turning point in history will be the moment that man becomes aware that the only God of man is man himself. I spoke at a public school in Pennsylvania one time, and the kid sat on the second row. He said, "Mr. Hovind, I'm an atheist." I said, "Really?" I said, "You don't believe there's a God?" He said, "Oh, there's no God." I said, "Well, son, let me ask you a question. This kid's a senior in high school." I said, "Do you know everything?" He said, "Oh, no, no." I said, "Do you know maybe half of everything?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, let's just pretend for a few minutes that you know half of everything." I said, "Is it possible that God exists in the other half you don't know?" Brand new thought bounced around in his brain for a while and got lost, I'm sure. I said, "Let me ask you a question, son. If you're an atheist, how do you tell right from wrong?" He said, "That's easy. I decide what's right and wrong." He said, "I'm the God of my own universe." I said, "Well, I'm glad to hear about that, because I'm going to shoot you in 5 minutes." He said, "You can't do that." I said, "Oh, yeah, I can. You see, I'm the God of my own universe, and I decided it's fine for me to shoot you." How do you decide right from wrong? I've asked this question to evolutionists all over the world. I've never gotten one to answer it. Simple question. If evolution is true, how do you tell right from wrong? How do we tell right from wrong? Is there a big cosmic standard someplace, a "thus saith the Lord"? If there isn't, we're in trouble. There was a Russian atheist astronomer came to America and he said, "Folks, either there is a God or there isn't." And I thought, "Now this guy's really smart, you know." And then he said, "Both possibilities are frightening." I thought, wow, that's a thought. If there's a God, we better find out who he is and find out what he wants and do what he says, because he owns this place. If there is no God, we are in trouble. We're hurtling through space at 66,000 miles an hour and nobody's in charge. Scary thought. Evolution is the foundation for humanism. Man becomes God. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. I'm God. Hey, Gabriel, come and listen to this. Ha, ha, ha. One guy said, "I will not accept creation philosophically because I do not want to believe in God. Therefore, I choose to believe in that which I know is scientifically impossible." Rifkin said, "We no longer feel ourselves to be guests in someone else's home and therefore obliged to make our behavior conform to a set of pre-existing cosmic rules. It's our creation now. We make the rules. We establish the parameters of reality. We create the world, and because we do, we no longer feel ourselves beholden to outside forces. We no longer have to justify our behavior, for now, we are now the architects of the universe. We are responsible to nothing outside of ourselves. So we are the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever." That's humanism. And evolution is the foundation for this pagan, idiotic philosophy. Lewontin said, "We take the side of science in spite of its patent absurdity of some of its constructs. We have a prior commitment, a commitment to materialism. Materialism is an absolute. We cannot allow a divine foot in the door. We cannot even think about the idea there might be a creator. Satan's put it in the minds of his followers that they ought to build a kingdom and rule the world. Once you reject God, then a bunch of people get together and say, wow, we got to control this planet. We got to rule the world. One thing we have to do is start to kill some of the other people. There's too many of them here. See, if evolution is true, who owns the world? Who makes the rules? How do we decide right from wrong? If man is God, and that's what humanism means, there is no absolute standard. How do you tell right from wrong? I mean, maybe Osama bin Laden should decide right from wrong for everybody. Maybe Congress ought to decide. Maybe Bill Clinton ought to decide. Right and wrong, well, never heard of that before. How do you tell right from wrong? Where's the rules? Look, folks, during the Civil War, one guy decided he did not want to get involved. So, he put on a Yankee coat, and rebel pants. After the battle, he was found dead. His Yankee coat full of rebel bullet holes and his rebel pants full of Yankee bullet holes. You might as well get on one side or the other, okay? Just make a decision. We're in the middle of a battle, the biggest battle on the planet. We are in the middle of it. Mankind is the battlefield between Satan and God. There's a great book by Henry Morris called The Long War Against God. I highly recommend that one. It's so simple. You decide which side you want to be on, and then you help your general win. So Christians, though, have a great advantage. See, we have an infallible book that tells us how it comes out. I read the last chapter. We win. I think it'd be smart to get on God's side, okay? More on that in our college class 103. Evolution is a dangerous philosophy because it's the foundation for racism. The idea that one race of people is superior to another comes from evolution. Here's Darwin's book, The Origin of Species. That's not the whole title. And by the way, the theory was popular way before Darwin. Okay, he made it more popular, but it was Aristotle taught a form of evolution in 400 BC. The Egyptians taught evolution to Moses when he was in school. They said life evolved from the slime on the Nile River. Moses learned that growing up. Later, edited the book of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Didn't faze him, okay? The textbooks will show you that there are different species of animals. Origin of species. Now, wait a minute. There might be a different species, but they're the same kind of animal, quite obviously. Now, this textbook gives a little more of the title. It says, that Darwin wrote a book called The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. Oh, they're lying. They're not giving the whole title. I've got it right here in my hand. Here's the title of the book. The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Favored races? Now, Charlie, that's not politically correct. Oh, it was in 1859 when he wrote the book. We had slavery in America. Darwin thought natives were just advanced animals. Darwin said at some future period, not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace the savage races. Darwin said from the war of nature and famine and death, the most exalted object we're capable of conceiving, the production of higher animals, follows. Higher animals. Well, see, that was popular to say in 1859. We had slavery in this country. You could buy and sell Negroes like cows. Henry Fairfield Osborn from the American Museum of Natural History said, the standard intelligence of the average adult Negro is similar to that of the 11-year-old youth of the species Homo sapien. Now, if a professor said that today, how long would he keep his job? Stephen Gould knew this was true. He said biological arguments for racism may have been common before 1850, but they increased by orders of magnitude following the acceptance of evolutionary theory. Huxley said, no rational man cognizant of the facts believes the average Negro is the equal, still less the superior of the white man. Kingsley, Anglican priest, said the black people of Australia, exactly the same race as the African Negro, cannot take in the gospel. They can't be saved. All attempts to bring them to a knowledge of the true God have as yet utterly failed. Poor brutes in human shape, they must perish off the face of the earth. Kingsley was the Anglican priest who went around promoting Darwin's book when it came out. In 1860, Kingsley wrote a letter to his wife after he visited Ireland from the potato famine, where 1 million people died. He said, I am haunted by the human chimpanzees I saw along the 100 miles of horrible country. To see white chimpanzees is dreadful. If they were black, one would not feel